Good morning to all of you. And this is time that we discuss William Shakespeare and a few of his plays. And we know that Shakespeare had produced 36 plays. As per the folio 1 and folio 2, there are the 36 plays. Folio 1 was produced in 1623, and folio 2 was produced in 1632. And the third folio was produced in 1663. And then the fourth folio was produced in 1685. And all these folios produced 36 plays written by Shakespeare. But at a later stage, one more play was added in the canon of Shakespeare, and it was added by two professors of universities named Delvecchio and Hammond. And the play added was Pericles, the Prince of Tyre. And Dr. Johnson, Alexander Pope, and the other great editors of Shakespeare had spoken about the 36 plays of Shakespeare. And this is time that we find a few plays written by Shakespeare. And we begin with The Gentleman of Verona. And it is considered as the first play produced by Shakespeare. And it is in this play where Shakespeare uses the dramatic technique of disguise. And it was one question asked by UGC, in which play Shakespeare first introduces the dramatic technique of disguise. And it is in this play we come to find the dramatic technique of disguise and cross-dressing used by Shakespeare. And we find a female character in the play Two Gentlemen of Verona named Julia going in disguise, cross-dressing as a male with the name Sebastian. And finally the disguise becomes clear, and the technique of disguise was a favorite technique of Shakespeare, and we find the technique employed in many of his plays. For example, in Twelfth Night also we come to find one of the important female characters is found undergoing a disguise, female cross-dressing as a male. And in Two Gentlemen of Verona, in the first play itself, Shakespeare employs the dramatic technique of disguise. And actually the theme of the play, Two Gentlemen of Verona, is friendship and love. And we find that there are two friends named Valentine and Proteus. And the play is set in Italy, so it's an Italian subject. And we come to find that Valentine and Proteus are two noble friends belonging to two noble families. And Valentine speaks against love, but Proteus is already in love with a girl named Julia. Valentine is against love. He doesn't like falling in love, and he is interested in gaining more knowledge, and he plans to continue his education. And it is with this purpose he wants to leave Verona and to reach Milan. Verona and Milan are places in Italy, and he prepares to leave Verona and to reach Milan to continue his studies. And he invites Proteus also to accompany him, and Proteus is his best friend. And he wants Proteus also to join with him, but Proteus refuses and stays in Verona. But the father of Proteus orders him to go and join Valentine. The father doesn't want Proteus to continue in Verona because he knows very well that the character of Proteus can be maintained in a proper way only through the friendship with Valentine. And the father has got great belief in Valentine, so he wants Proteus to go and join Valentine in Milan. And Proteus is forced to go to Milan. And on reaching Milan, Proteus understands that Valentine is in love with the Duke's daughter named Sylvia. And actually the protagonist of the play is Sylvia. The female protagonist is Sylvia. Valentine, on reaching Milan, has fallen in love with a very beautiful girl named Sylvia, and she is the daughter of the Duke there. Formerly, Valentine stood against love, but on reaching Milan, he has fallen in love with a girl named Sylvia. And Proteus, on finding the beautiful Sylvia, also feels strongly attracted to her. Proteus is already in love with a girl named Julia. And on reaching Milan, he finds that Valentine is in love with Sylvia. And he also feels greatly attracted to her. And he wants to fall in love with Sylvia. And Julia, the lover of Proteus, by this time has reached Milan. She is afraid of Proteus. Therefore, she dresses herself as a page named Sebastian and reaches Milan and becomes employed under Proteus as his page. And Proteus tries to fall in love with Sylvia, and he uses Sebastian to convey his love messages to Sylvia. And Sebastian is actually Julia in disguise. But Proteus uses Sebastian, in fact, to convey his love messages to Sylvia. And Proteus fails in his attempt. And he tries to snatch Sylvia and flies to the forest. He snatches Sylvia, abducts her, and goes to the forest. And on learning about this, Valentine prepares himself and joins with a few outlaws in the forest, and they try to chase Proteus and Sylvia, and finally they reach the place where Proteus has imprisoned Sylvia and releases Sylvia from there. And the Duke also reaches there. The father of Sylvia also reaches there. And after all, he has been there with the plan of making Sylvia marry another lord named Thurio, a fopish and foolish lord and a rival to Valentine in winning the love of Sylvia. He is named Thurio, Thurio, Thurio. And the Duke actually wants Sylvia to marry Thurio, but there occurs a conflict between Thurio and Valentine challenges Thurio, and Thurio, being a coward, declines from the duel. And when the Duke finds the courage of Valentine, so he offers to arrange the marriage between Sylvia and Valentine. And by the time the disguise of Julia becomes exposed, and Proteus and Julia also unite. And there are the double marriages, the one between Julia and Proteus, and the other between Valentine and Sylvia. And in writing the play, Shakespeare is indebted to a Spanish prose romance. And actually we know that most of the plays borrow some source material. And for this play, Two Gentlemen of Verona, Shakespeare has borrowed the theme from a Spanish prose romance entitled Los Siete Libros de la Diana. And we have to remember the name Diana. The 7 books of Diana, it is called. The English translation is called the 7 books of Diana. And the Spanish book is written by Jorge de Montemayor. And the English translation was made by Bartholomew Young. And Young actually published the book only in 1598. But Shakespeare produced the play early. And we come to the conclusion that Shakespeare might have read the manuscript produced by Bartholomew Young. Bartholomew Young had produced the play, the translation of the play, in 1582, but the publication took place only in 1598. And Shakespeare might have read the manuscript produced by Bartholomew Young. And the main source for the play is from the Spanish prose romance, The 7 Books of Diana. And the translation of the book was made by Bartholomew Jung. And the original Spanish book was produced by Jorge de Montemer. And here, Don Felix is in love with Felismena. So in the 7 books of Diana, we come to find Don Felix in love with Felismena. Unlike Julia, Felismena disguises herself as a boy. And these are the similarities between these two literary works. So in the prose romance, the 7 books of Diana, we come to find Don Felix in love with a girl named Felismena. And Felismena is found undergoing a disguise as a boy. And there is also another major influence coming from Thomas Eliot, the one who produced the book named The Governor. And it was produced in 1531. This is another source for Shakespeare to produce The Two Gentlemen of Verona. And the same story is found in Decameron also. In Boccaccio's Decameron also we come to find the same story. And in the story, Decameron story, we come to find Titus and Gysippus. They are the friends. And Gysippus falls in love with Sophronia. And Shakespeare is also indebted to John Lilly for his Euphues, the Anatomy of Wit. And that was produced in 1578. And there are various source material for Shakespeare for the production of Two Gentlemen of Verona. And when we examine the play written by Shakespeare, we remember the story written by A.J. Cronin also. A.J. Cronin, one of the very popular British story writer and novelist, has produced a story under the same name, Two Gentlemen of Verona. And there we come to find A.J. Cronin reaching Verona and getting into friendship with the 2 boys and finds them doing various activities. And in some occasions they are found shoe shine boys, so polishing shoes. And in some other occasion they are found fruit vendors, sellers of fruits. And they are found doing various activities and making money, 2 young boys. One named Jacopo, 13 years, and the other named Nicola, 12 years, and they are brothers and found doing various kinds of activities. And Cronin makes friendship with them. Cronin becomes interested in the boys, and one day, when Cronin was about to go for a trip, so he tells the boys that he is on his way for a trip, and the boys wants him to take them to the next town. And Cronin takes the boys to the next town, and they go to a hospital, and on making examination, Cronin understands that the boys have their sister named Lucia in the hospital. And it is in fact to protect the sister Lucia, the boys are found doing various kinds of jobs. And this is the story written by H. Cronin under the title Two Gentlemen of Verona. And H. Cronin has actually borrowed the title from Shakespeare. And Two Gentlemen of Verona by Shakespeare is considered as his first play. And there we come to find the dramatic technique of disguise very effectively used by Shakespeare. And after Two Gentlemen of Verona, the next important play produced by Shakespeare is The Taming of the Shrew. And it's also one of the very popular plays produced by Shakespeare. And it has been prescribed in most of the universities as part of the syllabus. And this is a play with a speciality that it has got an induction. So a frame story, an induction. And in the induction, we come to find a mischievous nobleman tricking a drunken tinker named Christopher Sly. And this is induction, an introduction. So a different introduction, not closely connected with the main story. And this is what called induction. And the one play with an induction by Shakespeare is Taming of the Shrew. And it was also a question asked by UGC, the play with an induction. And Taming of the Shrew has got an induction also. And in the induction scene, we come to find a mischievous nobleman, a rich man, and interested in doing mischievous activities also. So to create some trouble in the people. And he pranks a drunken tinker, tricking a drunken tinker who is found near a pub. The nobleman found a drunken tinker unconsciously sleeping on the side of the road near a pub, and wakes him up and takes him to his house and washes him and gives him new linen, new dress. And the drunken tinker named Christopher Lie is so quite confused, and he doesn't know why these all things are taking place. And he had been washed, Christopher's Lie, given new dress, and told him that he is a nobleman. And Christopher's Lie could not believe it, but the nobleman, the mischievous nobleman, assured him that he is the lord of the house, and asked Christopher's Lie what he wanted as an entertainment. And Christopher's Lie told him that he wanted to see a play. And the play begins. And this is the induction. I told you the play Taming of the Shrew has got an induction, and in the induction we come to find a mischievous nobleman tricking a tinker, a drunken tinker named Christopher Lie, in telling him that he is a nobleman, and asking him what actually he wants as an entertainment. And Christopher Lie wants to see a play, and the play begins. And here we come to find the title of the play is Taming of the Shrew. Shrew is actually an unmanageable person. An unmanageable person is called a shrew, and it is very difficult to tame a shrew, to manage a shrew. And in the play we come to find that a young lady named Catherine is the shrew. And she is not prepared to marry a man, anyone. And whenever the marriage proposals come to her, she interrogates the grooms and defeats them. And it is this reason why Catherine has been considered by one and all as a shrew, an unmanageable lady. And marriage is delayed as far as Catherine is concerned. And her father, a lord in Padua. The story is also set in Italy. This is also Italian story. Her father is a lord named Battista Minola. And he is a lord in Padua. He is a very rich man. And he has got two daughters, Catherine and Bianca. And Catherine the eldest and Bianca the youngest. And at the same time, Bianca is in love with multiple young men. But Catherine refuses to marry. And Battista insisted that, the father insisted that he could arrange the marriage of Bianca only after Catherine becomes married. And the sister Bianca is in trouble because she could not marry. She could marry only after the marriage of Catherine. And Bianca has got her lover named Hortensio. And he tells her that he will make some arrangement for solving the problem. Hortensio, the lover of Bianca. And he has got a friend named Petruccio. So, fortunately, he finds his friend Petruccio on the way and learns that Petruccio is actually looking for a bride, that he has a plan of marrying, that his parents are dead. And Petruccio is a very resourceful person. And Hortensio invites him to come and meet Catherine, the sister of Bianca. Hortensio is in love with Bianca. And at the same time, she is in love with another young man also named Lucentio. And Lucentio disguises himself as a Latin teacher and comes to the house of Baptista Minola to teach Bianca. And in the way he secretly entertains his love with Bianca. And after all, Hortensio brings Petruchio to woo Catherine. And Petruchio is a very resourceful young man. And during the first meeting between Petruchio and Catherine, there are a number of conflicts between them. So when Catherine says that it is night, Petruchio says it is day. And Catherine actually comes into conflict with Petruchio, and Petruchio announces his plan of marrying Catherine, and the marriage is arranged between Catherine and Petruchio. Petruchio is confident that he can manage the lady. And on the day of the marriage, Petruchio behaves in a very bad way. He comes late, and he comes without combing his hair and properly dressing for the marriage. And during the marriage, so he beats the priest, Petruchio beats the priest and drinks the communion wine also. And after the wedding, he takes Catherine with him to his house. And he begins the taming of Catherine by refusing her food and clothing. And he takes Catherine to his house. And he refused to provide her food and clothing. And what food he provides is uncooked meat or excessively burned meat. And after all, he says that they are very good. And Catherine knows that they cannot be properly eaten. And the techniques used by Petruchio become able to tame Catherine. And Catherine disagrees with everything that Petruchio says, and Petruchio disagrees with everything that Catherine says. And finally they come to an agreement, and both become agreed to follow up certain rules. And Lucentio, the young gentleman who assisted the marriage between Petruchio and Catherine, weds Bianca, and the marriage of Lucentio and Bianca takes place. And Hortensio, formerly the lover of Bianca, weds a rich widow. And towards the end of the play, we find the three couples, Lucentio and Bianca, and Hortensio and a rich widow, and then Petruchio and Catherine all coming together for a dinner. And after all, the men are found sitting together and speaking.